Hello everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. Hope all is well with you all. If you're here joining us live, feel free to share in the comments where you are joining from. Currently in New York, it's 57 degrees, a little rainy today, and we're getting closer to the actual spring weather. So hopefully you are as well. Just loading up some final things here so I can see your questions. But if you're here on Clubhouse or if you're here on Facebook Live, welcome again. Welcome to Business Basics Friday. My name is Safietou Russell, CEO and founder of SDR Consulting, Inc. Just a little bit about this session. It's a weekly session catered towards providing valuable information to business owners. And we have a variety of guest speakers that do come in to share that information for all the different areas of your business that you have to manage and think about. And, as a general disclosure, this is just educational and informational, no client relationship, no specific legal advice for you. If you do need that, you can definitely set up a consultation with myself or our guest speaker. As far as my background, I've been in the industry 20 years and I'm a CPA and enrolled agent and also have my master's in taxation. And SDR Consulting is a virtual firm based in New York, but we do work with clients all over. And we mostly work with business owners, helping them with the startup phase as well as cleanup and all the fun stuff in between. So if you're here live, you can post your questions in the comments. If you're here on Facebook, if you're in Clubhouse, you can use the back channel to send your comment or question, and we will definitely go over those at the end. So we are ready to get started. And I want to welcome our guest speaker, Sabine Franco Esquire. And the topic she's going to be covering is what business owners need to know about legacy planning. So Sabine, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Safi, and thank you for having me here today. It is a pleasure to be with you and your audience. I'll let you guys know a little bit about me. My name is Sabine Franco, of course. I'm an attorney. I'm the owner of the Ambitious Legacy Firm, where we help create legacies, we help protect assets, and we help put the generational back into generational wealth. And I'll tell you a little bit about my background. Actually, you know what I'd like to do is share my PowerPoint presentation because I have a slide on this. So you guys could follow along with me. Let me do that here. All right. Yes. So this is me, Sabine Franco. We've been in business for about 10 years. We do estate and legacy planning. So we help both individuals and business owners, put a plan together for their assets, for their business, for their legacy, how they want to be remembered and, the mark that they've made while they were here. But not only that, also the financial piece. So what's going to actually happen with the stuff, right? I am an educator. I've served as an adjunct professor at Hofstra University School of Law, and I love educating the community on what I do and, different areas of the law, but primarily this trust and estates piece and how it relates to almost everything that we're sort of doing in our lives, every single aspect. I have spoken nationally. I had the pleasure of speaking in Dubai last year and all over the country. And I recently wrote a book called You're Richer Than You Think. That is available on Amazon if you guys would like to get a copy, of that. But yes, this is where you could have seen me. And that's enough about me. I want to get to the stuff that you are really here for. First, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. So the disclaimer is, although I'm an attorney, I'm not your attorney unless we both sign an engagement letter and a service agreement. So please take this information as information only. You know what? I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure I was sharing the right screen. All right. Please take this information as information only and, not legal advice. So, take it with a grain of salt. All right. So what you're going to learn today, so I'm going to get into, why legacy planning matters to you and your business, especially if you don't have much money in the bank, right? Some people think it's just for the rich, but we all want to protect what we have and what we've created and the value that we've already, brought to, our lives, our circle, and those who are coming behind us. We're going to talk about how you are handling your estate planning, to support your growth as a business owner, and what are the next steps if you want to be sure that your family and business will be well taken care of after, you're no longer here, which is going to happen to all of us. We just want to make sure that we're living the best lives and planning the best way that we can. All right. Kind of went into that. So what I'm going to explain, I want to talk first because some people don't know what is estate planning, what is legacy planning, like why do I need to know about this? It kind of sounds complex, right? It's not really complex. It's just words that we're not familiar with using every day. Estate planning is a process of making sure your family and team and clients are not left without a mess if something happens to you, right? So we want to basically make sure that, God forbid, you don't wake up tomorrow, there's a plan. Everyone knows what there is to take care of and what needs to happen. I can't tell you how many calls I get per week for people calling and say that someone passed away without a plan and they don't know what to do. They don't know what assets are there. Sometimes the family is fighting, and we wouldn't want all that you sort of worked hard for to just like, disappear into thin air because nobody knows that it, sort of exists. All right. And so that's what estate planning is. Now, business succession planning, since you guys are business owners, is really a similar process, which, encompasses estate planning. But what we're looking at is what's going to happen with your business if you're not there. And it may not be that you're not there, but most of us build a business. We don't plan on or would not like to have to work until our last day. We want to build it to create a thriving environment so that we can live, so that we can enjoy life. So you may want to retire. You want to have a plan for what that's going to look like. God forbid if you become incapacitated, meaning you can no longer make decisions for yourself. What does that look like? And, ultimately, death, what's going to happen then? So that's what this whole, planning is about. And we put tools in place to basically make sure that we could achieve what is it that you want, that you could achieve what is it that you want, because it's not about us, right? It should be about you and your ultimate goal, right? All right. So I have a question to pose to you all. If you become incapacitated or passed away tomorrow, what would happen to your business? What would happen to your team? What would happen to your income? Right? So just think about that. A lot of times we don't want to think about it. And I don't think about it as, planning for death. I think about it as planning for life, because you're impacting your life and the lives of the others who come behind you. There's so many times that I work with clients and they're like, oh my God, once we're done with the planning process, they're like, I feel a sense of relief. They feel a sense of relief because now they know what would happen, if unfortunate circumstances come up. And we see, what happened with COVID, we just never know, and if we're not sort of shy about talking about these type of things, or we're not, avoidant about these things, then we can really create a situation where those who are around us in our family, our loved ones, our team, our business, within our business, everyone is taken care of, right? So it really helps you appreciate the time that you have, seize the moment when deciding and making these decisions. It helps you with goal setting. We're talking about, planning for your business. It helps you with spending, the type of life that you want to live right now. It helps you sort of determine like, what do I need to live my ideal life? And am I able to do that now? Or what is it going to take for me to get there? And putting all that together, kind of creates a clearer picture for you. Sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's something that allows you to really have a clear picture and action steps going forward. All right, so a few more points to reflect on. Would your team be able to run your business without you? This is something that business owners really need to keep in mind. And even before you even get to the planning stage, you want to make sure that your business is a business that has processes and that everyone knows how, there's a way to access how to do every single process that's in your business, right? It's not just in your head. It's not just within you or within one key employee or another, one or two key employees, that the business actually has documented processes to be able to run the business. If you weren't here, like if you couldn't be in the business for a month, could they just bring in somebody, to do your role for a moment to continue to have the business running so that stream of income doesn't dry up? That's something that you want to think about. Would your income continue if you could not physically be in the business? Sometimes we're building lifestyle businesses, or we're building brand businesses. You want to think about what's going to happen if you were not able to be there physically to continue things. So we want to think about our businesses to be able to live outside of us and not just through our own power and capabilities. And then if everything came to a halt, would your family be at risk? A lot of times as business owners, we are the breadwinners in the family, and we are, bringing in all of the, substantial income. How would your family survive? How would your family go on if you were not there, right? These are questions for you to answer, right, for yourselves. All right, so the more clarity you have, the better it's going to be for you in your business. Especially, I like to bring this up for single moms. If you are a single mom where you have young children who depend on you, you really can't just sort of let it ride, because there's a lot of pieces to pick up, especially when you're a business owner. There needs to be a plan in place where someone could sort of step in and take over, not only for your business, but also for your child. And then also, especially if the relationship with the other parent is either non-existent or the other parent is not alive. There's a lot to sort of plan out there and unpack, if you will, when it comes to single parents. And we don't want your family to be, dealing with drama, dealing with, the court system. It needs to be clear. So I'm sort of like setting the stage as to why you need to, plan as a business owner. And so we talked about retirement, we talked about becoming disabled, potentially, and we talked about, transition, which is ultimately, no longer being here. All right, let's get to some brighter topics, right? So here are some statistics to sort of let you know why it is that it's critical for business owners to plan. So out of 1,600 family-run businesses surveyed by PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is an accounting firm, only 36% of the businesses surveyed, passed it to the second generation. That means they lived their whole lives building this business and then nothing, right? Did not even go to the next generation. Then we have 19%, right, of businesses who survived. Only 19% of businesses that survived made it to the third generation. So that's even a smaller percentage. And then about 7% made it to the fourth generation. So we have a conversation, a collective societal conversation about generational wealth. However, we're not really putting pieces together to make sure that the wealth is in fact generational, right? We don't want for, your wealth to end with you. We want it to continue for generations to come. And that's how you have these legacy families whose names we know, whose names ring a bell, whose names open doors, whose names has access, right? That's how you do that for your family and for your legacy, right? And so we want to just sort of keep these things in mind when we're thinking about, should we be putting a plan in place? When you're answering the questions that I asked you for your business, you want to be keeping these things in mind. And some people are thinking, well, I'm a business owner. I don't have a lot of cash, or I don't have a lot of liquidity. And so for that reason, I don't think I have enough money to plan, right? Or maybe I don't feel like I have enough. Most of the families that I sit down with and business owners, when we sit down and put together all of their assets and we look at it, they're surprised to know that many of them are millionaires already, right? And that's why I wrote that book, You're Richer Than You Think, because you have so much more than you really think that you have. It's just that you never looked at it. And sometimes we're going after goals, in our lives, and we are not realizing that we've achieved some of the goals that we're already going after, right? So you may have a lot more than you think, but even if you're right, will your family have the money to pick up the pieces if you do not plan, is the bigger picture, right? Because you can put tools in place to make sure that you're, infusing your estate with money, with liquid cash, essentially, to be able to allow your family to do all the things that they need to do. So it is so much, it's like a fraction, a very tiny fraction of the cost planning ahead than it is to, have your family pick things up when things are not going right, or when things go the way we know they're going to go, right? So reasons why some businesses fail is because, those statistics that we talked about, they did not have a long-term plan in place. They did not have a plan in place to pass on the business. And because of that, nobody sort of knew what sort of is going on. And think about it, when you're a business owner, unless you have a partner or you have, high level team members, many people don't know really how the business actually runs. Like, who are your sources of referrals? Who are your sources of business? What accounts do you have? Who has access to your accounts? What assets does the business own? So these are questions that many people cannot answer. So let alone when you're not here to sort of give guidance or insight, your family may not be able to answer these questions, and they may never know, they may never discover, what's actually there. Another reason is poor communication. We have this stigma, I would say, particularly in the Black and Brown community, about talking about money, talking about the details of business. I think some of it comes from shame or embarrassment, or just the fact that it's a faux pas to talk about money. We were taught at some point, and I think that's wrong, right? We need to change the narrative, and we need to change how we are communicating about wealth, about our business. And when you make mistakes or you're not exactly happy where you are in your business, you're actually freed by having that communication, and you're actually empowering the next generation or whomever you're sharing with. You're empowering them to learn from your mistakes, right? So never ever be ashamed of anything that's going on within your business, because lifting the hood and and showing what's actually going on, it's good for you, and it's also good for others to learn. And I think all those things tie into our poor communication. But we're going to change that, because you guys who are listening are going to be the catalyst for change. Okay, another issue that we have is power struggles, right? If there are, dynamics within the family where there are power struggles, we rather just keep the peace and not have to deal with it now. But guess what? Whether it's within the business or it's within the family that's going to inherit the business or what have you, those, contentious interactions, that friction is going to happen regardless. It's just going to happen when you're not here, and it's going to be a lot uglier when you don't have a say in the matter, right? The other reason why we don't talk about this stuff is lack of interest. Sometimes the family members or your team or maybe your co-owners, maybe there's just a lack of interest in addressing this type of stuff. But I'm sort of, urging you to take an interest and to make sure that you have a plan going, that you're having these conversations, that you're being open and honest. And if it's someone that's going to be taking over your business that has a lack of interest, and that's a telltale sign as well. And you want to think about different ways to sort of pass on that business. So we're going to get into some of those tips as my time is coming. So 5 steps to planning for your business. Some things that I want you to sort of think about when we're talking about planning, things that you want to keep top of mind. So there's keeping your accounting, which Safi could tell you all about, and I'm sure she has, right? You want to make sure your books and records are together. You want to make sure your paper trail is together, because if someone needs to step in and either take over and or potentially sell your business, all those things need to be in place. And it's already sometimes a mystery, right? When you're trying to get your books organized. Imagine if you're not there to sort of explain what's happened and what's sort of going on. So you want to make sure that's in place. You want an asset inventory. This is still number 1. You want an asset inventory that's going to say, what are all the assets that are in this business? What do we own and what do we owe? All those type of things will be a part of your sort of accounting. And then where to find things, who manages your books, who knows where these things are located, or maybe you have some sort of document or something that says, where everything is. So that's number 1. The second thing that you want to do when you're, planning for your business is to, like I said, have a conversation. If you're planning on leaving your business to, is it a partner, or is it someone who is within your business, or is it a family member? Do they want the business? First of all. And then 2, if you have a business where you require a license or some sort of special skill that someone else doesn't have, How are you going to handle that? Are they going to get licensed, or is it going to be a situation where now the business needs to be sold? That's a question to answer. And if that's the case, you definitely want to make sure you're dotting your I's and your Q's, right? And T's, you're crossing your T's. You want to make sure that you are, you know, yeah, you want to make sure that everything is in order, because if you got to sell, your business has to look good to someone else in order for you to sell it, right? So that's number two. We're having these conversations, we're being open and honest, and we're talking about these things and keeping it real. Number three is education. So now if you do have somebody who is going to be taking over your business, then you need to start early with educating them about your industry, the things that you sort of learn along the way. There's so much that that's within you that you can't even have in your your standard operating procedures, because it's just like there's so much of how you do the thing that you do and how you've got to where you've gotten, the lessons that you've learned. You have to educate the individuals or the group of people or what have you that's going to be taking over your business, unless you're going to be selling it. And if you're going to be selling it, then you have to have the conversation about, how do I go about selling this business, right? And you want to know that for yourself if you don't know that. So these are a lot of things that you want to sort of make sure you get in place. Four is, of course, you need a legacy plan. And I put trust plan. I usually tell people not everybody needs a trust, but if you have a thriving business that's, a business that you're going to be able to pass on to somebody, you are not leaving that business by way of will. I'm telling you that today. You're going to be leaving a trust. And the reason why you want to do that is because when you leave assets in a will, what most people don't realize is that it still requires you to go through the court system. And the court system means, hiring a lawyer, filing a lawsuit. Sometimes it's an easy process to do if the estate is extremely simple and there's not a lot of assets. But now we're talking about a business is involved. You're most likely going to need to hire a lawyer because you're going to need that business valued, right? And that is time, that is fees. You need someone willing to do all of that. And in the meantime, no one has authority to run the business, essentially, right? If that part wasn't handled. So if that part wasn't handled, now the business is sort of sitting there waiting for somebody to sort of like run it. And so it's not the ideal way to leave a business or complex assets within a will. The best way to do that is within a trust. Why? Because you get to have a higher level of control in terms of the detail that you get to include for your plan. And not only that, it is an instant takeover. Something happens to you tomorrow, even if you're not gone, you're just ill, your trustee, who is the person who would step in to manage your business, would be able to take over immediately. There's no red tape, there's no waiting, there's no court. Your estate would be kept private. So that means the public doesn't get to know what's going on in your business, what's going on with your family, et cetera. So it keeps a lot of peace within the family, all of those good things. So that's, in a nutshell, why you're going to do a trust plan versus a will plan when you're looking to protect your business. And then finally, the last thing that you want to make sure of is that you have insurance. So since a lot of times we think about, or maybe we hear about insurance for your life, as in just to protect your family or cover your final expenses, but you want to also have insurance within your business. So your business can also have an insurance policy on your life if you're the key person, or any other key person that's within your business. And we call that key man insurance. There's that, and there's other similar types of insurances. Why? Because as we know, we're business owners. Many times we don't have the cash flow necessary to essentially pay off someone or buy out a partner or buy out, someone who is, owning the business or owed something through the business. And if you pass away, the business needs to be sold, or if you pass away and you have a partner, or your partner passes away, and you need to now buy out that partner's family or vice versa, you should have insurance policy that if somebody dies, instant cash flow within the business, right? Instant cash flow, whatever the amount is, to be able to facilitate that. Or, if your family is dependent on your income and the business doesn't have the necessary cash flow to uphold your family, now that insurance policy comes in instant sort of, cash flow. So really want to think about insurance, not only for your life, personally, you owning a policy, but also your business owning a policy, or you having one on your business partner, et cetera, so that the business is held up when you're no longer able to do so. So I know my time is coming, so I want to let you guys know, if you want to work with my team, you can contact me. I'm sure Safi will provide the information. I'll put up my, my slide as well. We will meet with you, we'll review, plan with you, we'll look at an inventory of your assets. And if you plan with us, if you if you book through this, and let me know that you are on this live or this Clubhouse, and we'll give you a free planning session. So hopefully that's good for you. It's a $750 value, so it will be free for you if you want to come in and talk to us, and you do the homework by filling out filling out the information. We'll work with you. So I'm going to just skip to questions, and I have my information up for anybody who wants to connect.
Thank you. Wow. Turn that on.
I try to fill a lot in that little time.
That was great. I was like, you could keep going. I'm good. Great information, Sabine. I definitely appreciate that. And thank you for that offer. I mean, if you guys didn't hear that, if you're hearing it on the replay or on the podcast, mention SDR Business Basics, and you're going to get a free asset analysis. What was that? Planning session, a free planning session valued at $750. I appreciate that offer, and I hope you guys take advantage of it, because I will be. So thank you, Sabine. So I wrote a couple of things down, and if anyone does have any questions, you can put them in the comments here on Facebook, or Clubhouse has a room chat, which I just learned about today. So there's a room chat feature where you can post your question there as well, or if you want to send it privately, you can use the back channel. So I'm glad you brought up the trust versus will, because I get often, and actually let's come out of the share screen. I'll have you share your information. I hear, what they call it, the YouTube world or the TikTok world, put everything in a trust. I want to put my home in a trust. I want to put my business in a trust. And while there could be definitely good reasons for that, which you explained, many people don't understand there's different types of trust. There's different tax effects with trusts, but, and I don't expect you to give a whole, explanation of all of them, but in general, there must be some type of restrictions on what you can put in a trust or what the purpose of it is. So people think that they're just going to get away from taxes by putting everything in a trust. Not true.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, for sure. So there's I will say there are many different types of trust, and they tend to have names that are sort of coined by whatever law firm or what have you. But it's really depending on what the goal is and what you need, and that's how we determine how to draft your trust. But the bigger picture, overarching, there's two main types of trust, which is your revocable trust and your irrevocable trust. So your revocable trust is a trust that you're able to sort of change. You can add assets to it, remove assets to it. You still own those assets, right? So what Safi is saying, it's still going to be under your social security number. You're going to pay the same taxes that you would normally pay, so it's not really a tax avoidance situation. Now, with irrevocable trust, it's a trust that you cannot change, essentially. So once you put those rules in place, you cannot necessarily change what it is. Not only that, there are some tax benefits to irrevocable trust in the sense that it removes it from your estate, right? So you don't own it. And you want to be concerned with that if you make over $12 million is really the thing. So I won't get into the technicalities of that. However, with those irrevocable trusts, they can also be good for people who are elderly and they're trying to, preserve their assets, but there are restrictions with them. You can't just freely have access to the cash. You can't freely sell and mortgage or what have you, your assets that are in there. So although those have some tax sheltering features, they're not necessarily a way to sort of avoid paying tax, and you would only do it if it works for you, based on your goals.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes. So
You're
don't
welcome.
just, throw everything in the trust and think you're not going to pay
It's
tax.
driving you crazy, right? You're like, no, Safi, I don't have to
Right,
pay taxes.
right. It's crazy. So, but thank you for that. And also just, the differences between the will and the whole probate process. And if you've dealt with anyone who's had someone pass away, the headache,
Hmm.
and the drama and the, tension that comes with that. So having to avoid that whole
Absolutely.
process, even better. So that was a clear distinction between the will and the trust. And
Thank you.
thank you for
Yeah.
that. Now, one thing that you brought up that I think people don't think about is, yes, you may have life insurance, which is great. If you don't have it, for sure need it. But
Hmm.
if you're incapacitated, you don't necessarily have access to your life insurance. Some policies
That's
do
true.
have some,
Hmm.
riders or whatever in there. But generally, what happens? You're still here, but you can't work. You're the
Hmm.
breadwinner. Family can't access those funds. So what do you do? You know, and
Yeah, yeah. And you that's why we need to sort of have a plan so that, if there's someone that could come in and step in, is your team equipped to be able to, do what's necessary to keep that, that money flowing? And then who's going to take care of you? Right? Someone has to take care of you while you're not able to. So all of those things need to be considered.
that's true. The, power of attorney, the health proxy stuff, and
Yes.
all that stuff. Most people don't have it in place or they don't know where it is. If you have
Yeah,
it locked up in a safe somewhere, you the only one knows code, and something happens, you can't talk. It's a lot
that's
to think about.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see that in what you do. And so
Yes. And particularly with that, because people always often ask me, well, what age should I have this plan in place, or when do I sort of start? And it's like there's no really age that you should. I mean, there are 20-year-olds now with $1 million businesses. You know what I mean? You should at least have a healthcare proxy and power of attorney, because once you turn 18,
mm,
you can't, your parents can't make decisions for you anymore. Right? You're an adult. So especially people with college age children and things of that nature, you want to make sure that there's something in place, especially if they have businesses going, so that you can help them if
mm,
something were to happen.
that is interesting. I didn't think about the power of
Mhm.
attorney. Because when you're living, because that applies when you're living, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's having one in just in case, like
Just in
the
case, yeah.
authority for people to do things while you're still here and when you're gone. There's like
Hmm.
different documents for each, so that's good to know.
Right.
um,
Yes.
so what would you recommend, for you know, documenting your process? I know that was something that
Mm.
as business owners we have it in our head, right?
Yeah.
And I know people are having issues with staffing and things of that nature going with the Great Resignation. So, you
Hmm.
know, cloud-based versus written, just what recommendations could you give for business owners and like
Um, all right. So I'll give you like three recommendations. So I think definitely cloud-based, maybe a written backup, just so that I think it'll be easier to like edit and update and things like that if it's also cloud-based. The second thing I would say is you want to basically chunk it really go at it in chunks, because it's really hard when you think about how many things that you do and you just know to do them. It's really hard to document all these things, but that doesn't mean we don't have to do it, right? So take one process at a time. What do I say when I answer the phone, and like what is the next step? How do I get client from stage B to stage C, all these things. So I would do high level, really just writing it down,
mm,
or putting it in your computer,
mhm,
and then go into, okay, if this then what, if this
mm,
then what, for each particular step. If you can't do it on your own, I highly recommend getting a virtual assistant, or handing this off to an assistant, because as business owners, we think everything that we need to do to grow the business has to be on us, and we have resources, right? So use your resources to, tap into someone to help you do these things. And, before you know it, you'll have a full system, going. So the second part was writing it down, right? The third thing I would say is videos go
mm,
a long way. If you can record short videos, or videos to show your team like how to do things, or to show how you go through a process, it is really life changing. I don't know if you're familiar with this software called Loom,
yeah,
Loom. So
yep,
Loom, like you can record your screen and your voice as you're working on something.
yep,
So you basically have the process there, and then you can have, someone else transcribe that or put that into a step-by-step thing. So those are some good tips that I use myself.
Great tips. And you're right, because some people, like even I notice, I will definitely learn quicker video and audio as opposed to reading.
Yeah, and
Of
that's
course,
where we're going,
visual
right?
learners or whatever the terminology is. But yeah, I
Mhm.
do use Loom. It's great. I do use Zoom as well, but it's a couple more steps to record the screen. So I'm like, oh, all
Mhm.
right, let me get Loom. And you're right,
Mhm.
as I've been onboarding, staff and training on different things, so much easier. Just record the video. They can take
Mhm.
notes on it, or like you said, you can have an admin transcribe it into a process.
Yeah.
So that was a great suggestion. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And
You're
so
welcome.
if you're out there, and I don't have any questions right now, but if you're out there, please take advantage of this offer Sabine has graciously given to the SDR Business Basics community.
Yeah.
Definitely those key points that you brought up, we have to address them, even if we don't like to. And if we want to create that legacy, we need to be prepared. Someone has to do the initial work, right?
Yes.
So
Be
we'll
that
do
person.
that. Yeah, be that person.
Mhm.
And don't procrastinate. So I'm going to go ahead and just close out for anyone who's joined lately with my information. And Sabine, I definitely want you to go ahead and share your information for those who are plugging in via audio as well. So thanks again for joining us for this Business Basics Friday session with guest speaker Sabine Franco, discussing the importance of legacy planning for business owners and of course in general, because we're
Mhm.
individuals first. And
Mhm.
so I am Safietou Russell, founder and CEO of SDR Consulting Inc. And we work mostly with business owners as well as individuals, helping them with the startup phase as well as cleanup. So that entails business consulting, bookkeeping, accounting, tax prep, planning, and tax resolution if you've gotten into trouble with the IRS or state. And definitely glad once again to have Sabine here. Thank you again. And Sabine, you can go ahead and share your information.
Sure. Thank you so much, Safi. This was so much fun. All right. So, everyone, I'm Sabine Franco, Esquire, owner of the Ambitious Legacy Firm. We are a trust and estates firm. We help plan legacies, protect assets, and help you put the generational into generational wealth. And so that entails wills, trust, and strategy consulting, all those things that go into that, as well as administration. If someone passes away and there is a will or there isn't a will, we can help you with that process as well. So you can find me at theambitiouslegacyfirm.com. And I am Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer on social media, and Sabine Franco on LinkedIn. So I hope to talk to you guys soon. Don't forget to mention SDR Consulting if you'd like to have a free planning session.
Yes, yes, please don't forget that. Thank you again. And on social media, we are at SDR Consulting. Keep forgetting to mention that, as at SDR Consulting everywhere. And then by phone, you can schedule a free intro call at 516-255-6603. And thank you for the Clubhouse feedback. They said great session, great
Thanks.
information. And the weather was 72 in Atlanta. So,
Okay, y'all don't have to bring that up.
right? We're here struggling to get to 60. So
No struggle, but we're gonna get there.
we're getting there. We're getting there. Thanks again, Sabine, and
Thank
everyone.
you,
We will be
Safi.
back. So next Friday won't be here, but the following Friday, join us every Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern. I'll be out of town next week, but the following week we'll be back. Feel free to share it with a friend. And so in a couple of weeks, this session will be on the podcast as well, all the major streaming platforms. You can find SDR Business Basics as well as on the live session. All right. So everyone have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. We'll be back soon. Thanks.